Before we bring Vincent out, we want you to know that this is one of the movies that was also generously sponsored by the Champaign County Anti-Stigma Alliance. So thank you. And now, I want you to meet Vincent P. Falk.
That might be a little bit too much.
Okay. And this is the director of the film, Jennifer Burns. And now, cue music, please. And we're going to bring out Richard Roper with, we have a nice something for you and Jennifer. Roger has a golden thumb. Ooh. And we're going to have the movie critic, writer, and our friend Richard Roper come out with the thumb, please. And Nate Cohen. Who do you have? Okay, we're going to stay out here, Richard, please. Richard's going to be the moderator of this panel, joined by, we have the editor of the film, Christine Gillibrand. Will you come out, please, Christine? And rounding out the panel is one of our far-flung correspondents, Omar Mozaffar.
By the way, this thumb is heavy, so obviously he's not my brother.
Oh.
Thank you.
I won't drop them this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chaz Ebert. Thank you, Chaz. Now, as somebody who I've lived in Chicago forever, and of course, I've seen Vincent for many years, and when I got up this morning, I walked into my closet and I just wept. I just, this is what I did. Why bother, right? It's like getting up knowing you're going to be playing basketball with Michael Jordan. Do you even bother to put the gym shoes on? I don't think so. I love that color. It's beautiful.
Well, thank you.
We're going to talk a little bit about the film, and then I want to get questions from everybody here in the audience. Jennifer, first of all, it's a lovely film. It's just really well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was speaking to a group of film students last week, and a lot of them were journalism majors, and we talked about how one of the most pure, one of the most wonderful forms of journalism, of course, is the documentary. There's so much work that goes into it before you even start shooting the film. So I just want to ask you to just tell us a little bit about how you met Vincent and the process of actually putting a film together.
Okay. Well, I kind of decided I wanted to make the movie before I'd ever met Vincent. I wait tables at Smith & Wollensky, so I'd seen him.
I saw hardly any product placement whatsoever for Smith & Wollensky. I was wondering what restaurant that was.
They haven't given me any money, though. Isn't that a shame? Anyway, so I'd seen him through my work windows for years, and one day I just was looking at him, and I thought, somebody should make a documentary about this guy, you know? And then I just kind of went about polishing glasses or doing whatever I was doing, and, you know, about 5 minutes go by, and I say, wait a minute, maybe I should make the documentary. So then, you know, I reached out to the few people I knew in the film business. I was an actor for 10 years before doing this, and I was led to the IFP, which is the Independent Feature Project. It's an organization for independent filmmakers. And they gave me the best advice that anyone could have given me. And, you know, I went in there, I said, I have this idea, I don't know what I'm doing, should I get a co-director, should I get a co-producer? And they just said to me, you know, get yourself a good cameraman and go make your movie. So that's what I did. I got myself a good cameraman, and I emailed Vince, because I knew about his websites, and there wasn't a lot of arm twisting to get him to be the subject of a documentary. I did kind of, you know, overpromise. I said, I started the email with, you know, I'm a documentary filmmaker here in Chicago. I'd like to make a film about you. So that was sort of the beginning. I can go further if you like.
Well, I want to talk a little bit. I thought the film was really, you know, the pacing was wonderful. We really, you know, we got a whole arc there of a season. And I want to talk about the editing as well. Can you tell us a little bit, you know, how many hours of footage, raw footage did you have? And you know, talk about a little bit about, you know, trying to pare that down into a reasonable length.
I try not to think about how many hours of well, we had about 125 tapes by the end of the filming, and we started editing before you were done with production as well. But you know, we really worked closely. Jen was great at really knowing the footage. It took us 2 years to edit the film, so you know, it was, I think our first rough cut was about 2 hours too, so it was just a matter of going very big and then kind of starting to trim down and figure out the core of the story and the structure too. We didn't really know, you know, we knew we wanted to tell a story about Vincent, but what's our framework for that? So we kind of decided on the seasons, which, you know, the 4th of July and these big events in Chicago were big days for Vincent. So those were that was kind of our starting point, kind of framing the story.
And I love the way you went back and forth, so we got a little bit more of Vincent's backstory, and then we got to see him again. I think that was a really wise choice, and I think it worked as a storytelling device and also emotionally. Now, Vincent, I want to ask you, while these cameras were following you around, and while this movie was being made, did you ever have any ideas for the director? Did you ever tell her that you think she should do this or she should do that?
Yes.
I guess I have made suggestions. I don't know how many of my suggestions she took, but I made suggestions amidst my wonderful baubles of humor.
So, a question about the editing. Did you have to wear sunglasses while you were editing?
Not quite, but I was inspired by Vincent throughout this project, and it was really an honor to work on this film and get to know Vincent through it. And Jen.
I think one of the most amazing things to me was when we saw that shop where Vincent gets his clothes. Apparently, they have more than one customer. That to me was a revelation. Who are these other people?
Well, you know, Roberto, we interviewed Roberto, but unfortunately it just didn't make it into the final cut. But he said, you know, most people, they buy these suits, they're on stage. They're not walking on the street.
But he is on stage all the time. Yeah.
Vincent, is there any color you won't wear that you just find doesn't work for you?
Well, I guess I go more for the, especially now, I guess I go more for the brighter, flashier color. The brighter, the shinier, the better. All for the benefit of people's eyeballs.
And you see that throughout the film, the reaction that people have, whether they're strangers or certainly the people that know Vincent, his neighbors and his coworkers. Chicago's a wonderful city. It's my hometown. I live there. I love the people there. But it is a big city, and it does have all sorts of people. And I'm just wondering, Vincent, does anybody ever give you a hard time when you're out there doing your fashion shows?
Not really. The hardest time, I guess, are some of the people some of the other characters might ask me for a few dollars. Might ask me, do you have a buck? Do you have a buck? That's about the extent. But nobody's really hassled me about doing my fashion show. Not even the guys you get when you dial 911. They haven't told me to police not do it. Oops.
So during the movie, I was taking a few moments to look at the audience, and it seems as though there were many, many moments where everybody in the room was smiling. How does that make you feel?
Wonderful.
I just want to point out really quickly, because I was so excited that Vincent wore this suit. It's my favorite suit of his. And it's my favorite suit of his because the lapels are on the vest.
Another fashion note I got to make here.
I thought I was cool with my sweater vest.
All right, yeah, let's do it.
Oh, geez. Look at this.
He and I are the same size, how befitting.
Thank you. I'm going to keep this on for a while, if you don't mind, just for a second. It really does. It makes you want to spin. You can't help it. Beautiful. Thank you. This is so depressing to put this back on now. I want to ask a little bit about, we saw, as the seasons go on and get the last boat there, and it really is, you really start feeling that this is the end of the season. Vincent, can you tell us a little bit about what you do in the winter when it's just too cold to go outside? We saw you on the balcony there. There was, kind of a beautiful moving shot. But what do you do during the winter?
Well, I still manage to find places to show my suits, maybe indoors, and I still go to Studio 7. I may have to wear an overcoat, but when I know when the shot is coming, I'll take off the overcoat and plop it on that metal post thing that helps supports the wire barrier. Then I'll toss out my spin move, even if it is below zero. After all, I only have the overcoat off for a couple of minutes, even though it is a titch-bit code.
So you keep busy even in the winter.
Right.
You know what? I think we should open it up to questions from the audience as well here. If folks got questions, as Vincent has demonstrated, don't be shy. Have your voice heard.
Oh yes, I do. Since U of I is the bastion of great computer knowledge, I have an internet joke for you folks. Let's say someone goes into the washroom and they're talking while they're using the facilities. That would, of course, be an example of voice over IP.
Don't clap for that.
I saw this look across Jennifer's face like, there is another movie coming up in another hour. All right, we had some hands.
We
there
have
we go.
a question here right in the center, on the lower level.
Seeing you dance to the music just before you started talking reminded me that the University of Illinois has an opening for the halftime show. And I think your performance outdoes anything that I've ever seen there. Would you consider an offer from the university to come down for basketball and football?
An opening for the halftime show, Honest Injun.
Balcony, balcony, to your left, up here.
My question is for Vincent. Have you ever been on a cruise boat?
Yes, I do. I have been on cruise boats before, although it's usually been was a number of years ago. I've ridden the boats a number of times. That was in the years before I started doing the fashion shows for the boats. Although occasionally, I think the last couple of years, I occasionally would get on a boat for an occasional ride. But mostly my thing is to do the fashion shows for the boats, not on the boats.
You have another question right in the center on the lower level.
Just two quick questions, one for Vincent and one for Jennifer. Vincent, have you ever lost a jacket over the bridge?
No, because I keep a pretty good grip on them, and especially now the way I do my fashion show, I usually stand back maybe about 3 or 4 feet from the railing. So even if the jet coat does slip from my hand, it's more likely to still wind up on the bridge deck rather than over the bridge deck.
And then for Jennifer, who was the most difficult person to interview for this? I myself wanted to punch the Chicago Sun-Times guy a couple times, but I just wondered.
I just want to jump in and say Neil Steinberg's been my friend for more than 20 years, and I want to punch him on a regular basis. So, and I love him, and he would probably take that as a compliment. And I know Neil was a little bit nervous about how he comes across because he's always a little bit nervous. He could probably take some lessons from Vince and how to deal with people. But I do know that he admires Vince. So, I mean, he was, if it came across a different way, I know I could speak for Neil because he's not here.
I will tell you that Neil Steinberg, by far, was the easiest interview. He has been the most supportive person of this project. He kind of decided to write the column about Vince right about when we were about to start shooting. And he was kind enough to write about our film that was just about to go into production in that column. Always check back with me, throughout the many years of post-production. And he's actually the person who handed my DVD to Roger Ebert. So I owe Neil Steinberg everything. But to answer your question more specifically, I think Vincent was the hardest to interview. The puns come fast and furious, but when you're trying to get a deep, answer, they can be difficult. But I think we worked it out.
Balcony to your left, same place.
Hi, I really enjoyed the movie. I guess this this is a general question. You may not want to answer it about this specific movie, but I've sort of always wondered about documentaries of this kind. How it's determined, I don't imagine they're huge money makers usually, but how is it determined where the profits go in terms of the people who are in the movie and how those are
Neil Steinberg's not getting a nickel no matter what, I can tell you that.
I was just kind of curious about the people who I guess are the subject of the movie and how all of that's handled. And again, you might want to talk about that more generally. Thanks.
Thank you for your kind words. I think it's very sweet of you to think there will be profits. I talked about this earlier in the week on a panel, but I think most of you were not at that panel. I funded this film on my credit cards. So once I make that back, actually, Christine worked for deferred pay. The whole post-production house where we did all of our posts worked for deferred pay. My DP worked for deferred pay. So I got people to pay. And hopefully we'll be doing it.
So this was a labor of love then?
This was a labor of love. It was, I would never make a film like this again. Not a film like this, but in this manner. I wouldn't do it this way. I wouldn't fund it myself. But for me, it was my first film, and I know myself well enough to know that if I didn't just jump in, it wasn't going to happen. So I jumped in.
Well, you have the best calling card resume is the film. It's a world-class documentary, so anybody who sees this film knows that there's a filmmaker right there. So we hope to see you doing many more movies in the future.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
We have a question from the lower level again. It's just to the left as you're looking from the stage.
Hi. Fantastic film, so much fun. And when we come to Ebertfest, we get a lot of fun. So I want to thank you for having this film here, Roger, and thanks, Jennifer, for putting it together. My question is, the film was at a festival in Europe, and I think you said you weren't there, but what did you hear about the reaction in Europe to the film?
Well, I'll tell you, it was, they reached out to us. It's the Tallinn Black Nights Film Festival in Estonia. And I got this email out of the blue saying, you know, we have a fashion segment of our film festival, and we think your film would be perfect. And, you know, I sent them off the film fully expecting they wouldn't take it, because it's not really about fashion. And they took it, and it played with September Issue, the Anna Wintour documentary. It played with Coco before Chanel. It played with like some big, I think, Karl Lagerfeld or Valentino documentary, and us. I so wish I could have been there. You know, the festival director said that all the films were well received. That's how she responded to my request. So it was well received.
If I could just jump in for a second, I have a question for Vincent. Watching you work and seeing that you're so good at your job and you're obviously so creative in your passion here, and we saw, I think Jennifer did a wonderful job of letting us see the world the way you see it, sort of through limited visuals. What are your dreams like? Do you dream in a different manner?
Well, I guess I can't, since I don't know what normal dreams are, I guess I can't say if my dreams are different than normal. I don't have a standard by which to go by, so I'll just say my dreams are probably just normal, just like anyone else's, until I get proof otherwise.
Balcony?
I'm sorry, just very briefly. You know, we've talked about this quite a bit because, so the tunnel that Vince has in his left eye, the tunnel of vision, it's not just a tunnel of vision, but it's 2400 is his vision, which is my vision without contacts. So that's how we kind of figured out how much to blur it. And when Vince came in, he was like, that's not right. That's too blurry. I see better than that. And you know, it's because he doesn't know what good vision is like because he's been this way his whole life. And so because of that, he is just, you know, taken what little vision he has and he sees more than most people, certainly more than I do without my glasses. So.
I wonder if that means Jennifer will let me drive her Honda Civic.
No.
Okay. Balcony, same spot.
Wonderful movie, thank you. I'm sensing a little bit of displeasure with Neil Steinberg here, but to me, he was asking some of the questions that I think really elevated this and made it more than just amusing. Questions about how people look past or look down on strangers who are different. Questions about Mr. Falk's motivations and whether he's doing it for himself or for others. And so I was wondering if Mr. Falk and the filmmakers could talk a little bit about the reception you get from passersby on the street and whether you are happy just to be noticed or whether you are actually trying to make some sort of connection, some sort of mark in their lives, or is it just that you want to be seen as standing out from the crowd?
Well, I guess it's a combination of those. I want to be seen standing out from the crowd, and I guess I want to make people happy. I'm always pleased if I get a few giggles and laughs.
In response to your question about how people are receptive to him, you know, the way I wanted to tell the story is sort of from my own perspective, which is, I think, most people's perspective in Chicago, which is, you know, I mean, I'd seen him around for years before I thought I would make a movie about him. And honestly, it's because the first time I saw him, I was like, who is that guy? He is weird. I'm going to walk over here, you know? And then as I would see him more often, I found myself looking forward to seeing him and wondering what his next outfit would be and missing him when he wasn't there on the stage at the bridge at 6:30 on State Street. And I realized that he hadn't changed at all. It was my mind that had actually opened up to him, and that was a big slap in the face to me. And so I think that for most people who walk by him, a lot of, you know, he just stands there and he waves while he's waiting for boats. He just stands and waves, or waves. And so many people will walk by and not even wave back because we're so insular, you know, we're big city people, and we won't make eye contact, and we're not going to wave to the weird guy. And so that was part of the reason I wanted to make the movie, because, you know, we'd be better off if we all just kind of pursued our bliss regardless of how people looked at us. So.
Let's do 2 more questions if we can.
We have Joan Cole and I were struck by the same thing in this movie. You know, lately we've been seeing a lot in the news about an almost just a series of teenage suicides, particularly about people kids in high school who have been the victims of bullies. And we were really, Vincent, we were really touched by the person saying that when you were in school, people were picking on you, but when people questioned you about it, you said, no, that's, you know, it wasn't really that bad, and I don't remember it that much. And it could have been something totally different in your life. How did you take that and turn it into a passion for making people happy instead?
Well, I guess probably because in high school the picking on was not violent in nature. I guess typical bullying is more of a violent in nature. In this case, I guess there's a difference between picking on someone and bullying them. So in this case, it was more picking on rather than bullying. So that was able. So I just guess took that, as I said in the film, as a part of high school life. I guess things like that go on in high school.
We have a question now at the center of the stage on the lower level.
Hey, Vincent, I had the pleasure of meeting you Wednesday afternoon, and it was so cool just to see you do your thing, and just it was really awesome. And I have just 2 quick questions.
Yes.
Well, you told me not to be shy, so I'm gonna do the shy one first and the not so shy one second. The first question is, do your jackets, do your coats, do your suits have a specific meaning to you, or are they just for show? And the second question, this one, I hope you don't get insulted. Have there been days where you just wanted to quit, like not do this anymore, just be done with it? Maybe you weren't getting the reception that you wanted, or maybe people were thinking of you as, you know, just a guy, just a joke. And which I definitely do not think you are, and I don't think anyone here does. I think everyone has a lot of respect for what you do. But have there been days where you just don't want to do it anymore? You just want to quit?
Well, the second thing first. There might have been times where I may have wanted to stop doing it for maybe a period, for maybe that day. If it was ever that type of feeling, it might have been just for a particular day. Although I don't recall having that feeling, but it would have been just for that particular day. And as far as my suits, there's no real significance unless I wear suits that correspond to seasonal colors. I just wear whatever color suits me for that particular day, where I don't repeat my colors too frequently.
Let's take one more question if we can.
Balcony? I'm sorry. Same spot. Yeah.
Vincent, you were wonderful. You epitomize a performance artist. I'm just curious how you managed to integrate your performance art with your day job.
Well, I was able to do it during lunch hours and evenings and on weekends. And now I'm retired, so I probably will have a little more time to spin and twirl and tell good jokes. I know Jennifer says they're good jokes.
I've actually never said that.
All right, I want to thank everybody, Christine and Jennifer, and of course, Vincent and Omar. Thank you all so much. Let's hear it for the
Thank
star
you.
and the filmmakers.